I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and we need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not gonna go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
Yes.
but
Hello and welcome as the Weekend Warriors tonight head to Scotland's only permanent racing facility. But tonight we do it with a twist. It's in reverse. Welcome to Knockhill, welcome to Slow Motion Broadcasting. I am Tim Cox, Adam Thompson, the virtual production trailer, and Randall McGrew will join me very, very shortly. First things first, should we have a look into the points and how we've been getting on qualifying, just ongoing in the background there right now. Across into S1, James Barry, a bit of a new name for me for this series. I want to see so many newcomers to this championship. He leads the way on by 5 points over Jason Green, who won, I believe it was season 1 of the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. Jorge Gonzaga is in third place, but starting to get cut adrift this stage in the season. Megan Overstreet, who won season 2, is in 4th place, with McConnell not too far behind. Those three getting quite close for 3rd place. Adrian, Gritz, Kabanka, Jacobson and Ditchburn round out the top 10 there. Let's have a cross into Spec 2 now, where David Foy leads the way there by 205 points, but Adam Barney not too far behind him on 183. Still got a chance to catch him. Peter True, well, also he's not far behind, and he's still in with a shout at that title fight. He's in 3rd, but only by 1 solitary point. Arthur Dayton Bowes. Jimmy Littbacker, who's just come from strength to strength in this championship on 163 in 5th, with Bruzarosco in 6th, Walker, Love, Wilkie and Fernandez rounding out the top 10 there. Across now into Masters, well, Masters by age, but Masters of the series, and Antonio Race, well, he's got a really commanding lead there. Nearly 80 points, the advantage over Alan DeGassius. Gary Warbolt, though, is only 6 points behind DeGassius in 3rd. Borgmani, such a stalwart, and always tend to see him right there at the top, but he's languishing down in 4th. Jim Brewster is in 5th and getting cut adrift a bit there, with Stevie Ray in 6th on 112, tied with Bref Cathcart. Murakami, Tillo and Litz round out the, well, only 10-point scorers. qualifying underway, but 7 minutes left. Randall, McGrew, welcome along. And well, if a small, well, these cars are befitting of a small national circuit, but then to do this place in reverse, this could be very, very dangerous, mad, a bit of all of the above. I don't know. It could be absolutely epic.
Absolutely. This track drives more like a rally stage than a permanent race course in some cars, but these little bitty FFs seem to take to it just fine as we're on board now. With a couple different drivers making their way through the track. Some issues ahead with Megan Overstreet. That's gonna ruin both their lap times for this quali run, and they're gonna have to reset and repair that damage. You really seeing the cars able to attack the curbing here on this track, and the drivers that are faster are really using that curbing to their advantage.
Yeah, it's one of these places, you know, it's a narrow track. It's you've got to use all of the track width, add a little bit more, haven't you? Yeah, really, like I say, utilize those curves. Turn 1, or the last turn is normally Taylor's. That could be interesting under heavy braking. Really drops away, very similar in the way that the corkscrew does initially on that initial drop off. But I mean, obviously you don't have the switchback like you do with the corkscrew, but under racing conditions, when we get this underway in about 5 minutes and 20 seconds time, that could be a little bit treacherous on the opening lap. Cold tyres, very loose at the rear, and then you're trying to flip it, well, for nearly, damn it, through double back on yourself.
We're going to go on board with Yarg Manny for a flying lap. We see him on the right-hand side of the track as he approaches turn 1, getting all the way out there on the entrance curbing. Going to make a late apex into that corner as it falls away from him downhill. Use that exit curbing and kind of set yourself up on the left-hand side of the track to straight line this bit of curve right before turn 3 and try to open up a straight line braking opportunity all the way on the entry curb, clips the apex curb, runs all the way out onto the exit curb, keeps it to the right, a very fast blind chicane here where you can really abuse these curbs, and we're going to see him really get on top of them. A little wild through there, coming at the bottom of the hill, a pretty quick left-hander, gets back into the throttle, uphill, right-left chicane where the second apex is a bit blind. You don't see it until right at the last second, and he comes across the line with a really quick lap time.
I mean, look at that. All 3 classes occupying the top 3 spots. But ironically, it's an S2 driver who tops the timing sheets in the form of Istvan. He is just heading across the start-finish line. Wow, a scintillatingly quick lap from him. 51 seconds dead. Nearly, well, a tenth and a third faster than Barry. 2/10 faster than Marnie, who are no slouch of as commentators curse kicking in there for our resident Swiss Masters driver. But having said that, it's, you know, usual Weekend Warriors stuff. 0.4 of a second covering our top 13.
And we noticed in the practice times that the top 5 were separated by less than a tenth. Of course, they had a longer time to set a representative lap. Right now, you're right. We have a Spec 2 driver up front, so you really have to wonder, can he keep that level of pace up over the entire distance?
I'm racking my memories from Weekend Warrior history to think if I've ever seen this. I don't think I have, other than, you know, the initial early doors, you know, laps going in, you know, with a bit of a jumble and such like. But yeah, if you could pull that off, I think we could be in for a little bit of Weekend Warriors history. That could be a little bit, well, turn up for the books. But to have was all 3 classes in the top 3. Gertz is just moving up onto the front row with Istvan there late on. 2.5 minutes left on the clock. Jorge Gonzaga on a quick first sector, but not that really lasts you very long around Knockhill at all. It's only 1.3 miles, 2 kilometers in length. I mean, that's not much more than a walk down to the shops and back.
Yeah, not a lot of time to get something done in one lap here, but they're going to have plenty of laps to get it done in the race. It's going to be 45 lap race, possibly 46 lap race. They're going to get a lot of circuits around this really small course, and then you always have to remember that pit the pit strategy could really throw a wrench into this.
Well, I've been called out by the pits here at Knockhill as around goes Antonio Race there, just coming through Butchers. No, that's through McIntyre, isn't it? Just confused me ever so slightly having this circuit in reverse and trying to work out where I am. Yeah, that's definitely McIntyre. But what will be the entrance to the pit lane, Randall? It's basically a flat space of tarmac, and you've got no idea where the pit boxes are. It's caught me out before. With the size of the grids that we have in this series, that could be a little bit treacherous, and those drivers that aren't too sure where they're going, that won't be very helpful for them whatsoever when we hit the round of pit stops at around about the half-hour mark.
Randall, before you talk, hold that thought and the half-hour mark pit stops. Tim Cox in here. I haven't been on a broadcast with Tim in quite a long time, so I've got to give him a little bit of guff. Randall, you're not throwing a wrench into things. You're throwing a spanner into things. Get it right.
Yeah, put a spanner in the works. Yeah, not wrong there. Not wrong, indeed. But anyhow, yeah, pit strategy. It's going to be so crucial around here, isn't it, Randall? Because tight track, not a lot of overtaking opportunities. This could cut down to those who really got the pit strategy absolutely mastered.
And I think we'll see a lot of battling for position early in the race with the cars bunched up. It's your best opportunity to make spots. I suspect that we'll see the field start to spread out quite a bit after 5 or 6 laps into smaller groups that spread out over across the entire track map. So I think if you're leading this race, you might have to prepare yourself to deal with lap traffic as well.
It's a really valid point there you've got there, Randall. It's, of course, it's going to come at you very fast as well with that. Well, anything to go by qualifying standards, 51-second lap, maybe 52. Checker flag out in qualifying. Drivers are able to complete the laps that they're currently on. Not really seeing anyone going too much faster, though. Megan Overstreet has just set the fastest of anyone in the middle sector. She's lying 11th. What's she got in the run to the line? Is it all to no avail? Surely she's going to move up at least a couple of spots here. And there you go. It's good enough for the second row of the grid. She'll join Gertis on row 2. As things stand at the moment, Jim Brewster, great middle sector from him, a personal best. I don't know, by that green at the moment. And he's in a similar spot to where we picked up on Overstreet, the run to the line. We're going to see Jim move up as all currently lying 20th. He's about 10th behind Adrian, but no, he goes slower, so he remains 20th. And I think that could be most of our drivers done and dusted.
To see the top 3 separated by just over a 10th, and then we have a nice cluster in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, all really close together in lap times. So speed not necessarily going to make the difference here. It could come down to strategy and aggression.
Well, Stevie Ray in 21st and Rantelka, prime example there, 3,000ths of a second separating 21st and 22nd position on the grid. I think that tells you everything you need to know. And talking the grid, here they come. Front row is the Icelandic driver, Istvan, next to James Barry. Brit hoping for success here on home territory. Gertis and Overstreet make up row 2. Well, row 3 is leading driver in Masters, Yogmani, next to Jorge Gonzaga. Jason Green, always great on the strategy. Definitely want to watch from P7. He lines up next to Benjamin Harris on the 4th row. Row 5 sees Paul Stevens and Antonio Race to round out the top 10, while row 6 is Bill Walker and Michael McConnell. Crossing to row 7, Jesus Rodriguez, probably going to be a bit disappointed by that one. Likewise, Fortullo, they line up alongside one another on row 7. Row 8 is Andrew Love and Brad Cathcart, while Jimmy Littbacker and Jay Jacobson make up row 9. The top 20 and row 10, that's Kevin Adrian and Jim Brewster, while row 11 sees Stevie Ray and Russell Telka next to one another. Peter True and Gary Walbolt make up row 12. Row 13, well, all by himself. Unlucky for some, let's hope not, for Nick Tullow.
And as we mentioned earlier, possibly a history being made in the Weekend Warriors. Definitely, while the Weekend Warriors have been with slow motion broadcasting, a Spec 2 driver on overall pole.
No, I think certainly within Formula Ford, That's the first. Oh, in my long-standing knowledge, which is probably a little bit too long than many would care to like, I think that could well be a first ever. Although Esteban a little bit slow to get off the grid there, but the Icelandic driver just getting away. Porsche 911 safety car heading off. Right.
You have to wonder, being a Spec 2 driver, how much has he practiced starting a race from the front? There is a technique, there is a bit of skill involved in how to start a race as the leader and not give up the lead. So we'll see if he's practiced that at all, and if he's able to hold this lead going through turn 1.
Well, I mean, he's got the advantage. He's on the inside there, Randall. Plus, it's a rolling start, unlike, you'd normally see in the UK. This would be a standing start, which is always a bit treacherous at Knockhill when you go in the normal direction of clockwise, because normally you're sat up on an uphill stretch, and it's always, from speaking to guys that have raced there in real life, it's a bit of a tricky one, because you have to have one foot on the clutch, and on the brake, and then your right foot on the accelerator to try and get the car started. It's a real tricky circuit. But hey, that's Knockhill for you. So we just head up through Duffer's Dip in reverse. More Duffer's Rise, really, this time. But Porsche 911 safety car going to be pulling in any second. Esteban to control the pace. And here we go. Let's get ready to go racing from Knockhill in the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors. It's waiting. Esteban going to go late as we're green. We're racing down to turn 1 we go, down to Taylor's, and already looking 3 wide there for 4th place, but he's come out wide, and that could cost him as he tries to swoop round, but it's Barry on the inside, and he's going to take control of this one. Curtis remaining 3rd, Overstreet, but it's side by side on the run through Railway straight down towards Clark. Someone's going to give, someone's going to yield, surely, but no, still side by side, and through the chicane, this will be Larry. They can't make it side by side here. Someone's got to give this up. Someone will lose a place, and it's Barry and Esteban back into the lead halfway through the lap. What an opening start to this race.
We saw in the background there Peter True and Jim Brewster getting tangled into that turn 1 entry, and both dropping down the order, now last on the field with a little bit of gap ahead of them and some ground to make up.
Definitely a lot. Wow, that is a lot of ground to be worrying about and making up at this circuit here. But we'll be okay. We'll be okay, and it'll definitely make it for a interesting race, shall we say, for these drivers. Meanwhile, lap 2, round 2, Barry versus Esteban, and this time it's the Brit that wins this one out, as he's now into the lead, and Overstreet just sat there waiting, biding her time for what could well be a mistake from either of these two. But I tell you what, Randall McGrew, it might be a long time coming. We've seen some epic racecraft from these two so far as they head up through Duffer's Dip. Interesting. Esteban taking a lot of curb on the first part, not so much on the second. The reverse from Barry in front of us.
They definitely have different lines through different sections of the track. In that quick chicane halfway through the lap, we see that Istvan uses way more curb than Barry does. Barry's still the better right now on pace and is keeping that lead, but Istvan right all over him. You got to think Megan Overstreet here licking her chops, waiting for these two to get embroiled and maybe make a mistake that takes each other out.
And Stevie Ray and Walbot both have been strong starts at 4 places. But it's the Mexican Kevin Adrian is up 5 spots so far. He's your highest climber, is now up into 14th place. As I say that, there's been a bit of an incident further down through the field. Ray and Cathcart tumbling down. So we stick with our leaders for now. They're all shuffling around. Nick Tullo instantly did not make the start. Jim Brewster well down, and in fact he's not too far from going a lap down already. There's Brad Cathcart, who's well down the order, having dropped 4 spots. We've had a bit of a coming together there in the middle of the lap between a lot of them, but as well, with such a narrow track, it's really not surprising in some ways. Race ahead of Harris now for 8th place as Cathcart heads through turn 1 there. It's Giovanni, fastest lap last time around, a 51.409, and that's by quite a margin as well. And certainly of the last laps of everyone, nearly half a second, in fact, faster than our lead 2 of Barry and Istvan.
And we have a bit of a breakaway in the top 5 here. Not something I expected to see this early, but we are starting to see the field stretch out. The top 5 together still. They're going to want to keep that train going and try to open up as much of a gap as possible as we take a look here at Stevie Ray struggling down in P22.
Struggling in some ways, maybe not in others. Still plenty of this race left to go, and that strategy coming into play. Sometimes having a bit of fresh air around yourself as well, meanwhile, but back at it out in front. It's having that fresh air just can help you sometimes. As where Overstreet's really dropped down to 16th. She's had a moment somewhere as dicing through the curbs. Our lead 2. As that's Instaman just slossing it up the inside through McIntyre there. Beautifully done by the Icelandic driver as there's a big incident happened behind somewhere. Gonzaga losing a lot of places. In fact, look at it. It's a big gap in the distance there. A lot of drivers have fallen by the wayside. It's there.
Jörg Manny among them.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of people.
We've lost 2 of the top 5 that were in that group in one lap. It looked like 2 separate incidents. I think Overstreet looked like it was probably an issue in turn 1, and then Jörg Manny looked like an issue at McIntyre, possibly. Maybe had an issue coming through the chicane as Istvan runs wide.
Yes, he's off, and that's not just lost him the lead. Soren Gertis heading on through into second place. Wow, now it's a 1-2 for the Spec 1 drivers, and all the work to do for the Spec 2 leader that is Istvan. Oh, it's going to be a bit of an uphill mountain, a bit of a slog. I'm telling you, race now up into 4th place, incidentally. Also, your leader in Masters. Next closest driver, incidentally, for him in Masters, Brad Cathcart, all the way down to 15th. So, I'm telling you, could just stay on the track, which he's more than capable of doing. Then he's pretty much guaranteed that Masters victory. Although Cathcart and Warbolt's quite close together. So, interestingly, that could come down to a little bit of a fight for 2nd and 3rd in class.
Also very important, not only does he get the win, there's a lot of cars between he and 2nd place. So that's a lot of points that he will open up on the leaderboard.
Oh, we've still got plenty of racing to do left this season, and you never quite know in this series, Randall. That's one thing it's taught me, is just expect the unexpected. That's the best thing to know. Just seeing a bit of a midfield battle here right now. McConnell at the lead of it. Then we've got Walker, Littbacher, Adrian, Overstreet just at the tail. Just about, second and a half covering all of them. As there's Overstreet trying to defend, trying to make a way past, in fact, Adrian. And getting that move done lovely on the start-finish straight. But McConnell just a bit slow there. Actually, in fact, Bill Walker's just made it past the switching places left and right here between the pair of them. That's going to slow things up a little bit and just allow these 3 behind them in the form of Littbacher, Overstreet, and Adrian to come right up into this fight. Although, with it being Knockhill, that's all very well, but you still don't have a lot of places to try and get the move done.
And Overstreet, part of that group, she's on a recovery run now. She had plenty of pace, so we'll see how many of these cars she can get around and how quickly she can dispatch some of these drivers to try to get her way back up towards that top 5. I think she's still in pretty good for a top 5 finish.
Change for a second as well. Istvan now ahead of Gertis. As we see Harris there. Jesus Rodriguez maybe feeling like a little bit of the cork in the bottle in 5th place, although he hasn't long made it past Rodriguez. So Rodriguez hasn't long made past Harris even. Apologies. So yeah, this now starting to form quite a long train that starts in 5th and ends pretty much Andrew Love in 12th place. Although he's about a couple of attempts further back than maybe he would like to be. There he is, just heading through the chicane. I'll tell you what, that's a pretty scary place to make it through on going the correct way around the circuit. Let's do it in reverse. Descending down through the chicane.
Yeah, when you're going the normal way around the circuit, the second Apex is just as blind as it is in reverse, but it's a lot less scary. That chicane in reverse is definitely a heart stopper every time you go through it. You really have to have confidence that you know where that apex is going to appear and that your car can handle that curb.
Most certainly. Most certainly indeed. As one of our residents, Brad Cathcart, resident Australians, Brad Cathcart, the only one we've got with us tonight. Big shout out to Brad and by the other Aussie contingent within the Weekend Warriors who get up at the crack of dawn, sometimes before even dawn, on a Monday morning to come and race here in the Weekend Warriors. Always love to see their dedication to the series. Brad currently 19th, having dropped 3 places from qualifying, having started in 16th. That's Jeff Jacobson behind him. He's in a similar tale of woe, and Jorge Gonzaga, who's even a bigger tale of woe. He's down 15, having started what? In 6th place. So yeah, a long way down, a long recovery for him. Meanwhile, back at front, so Istvan's made it past Gertis. But Barry has dropped the pair of them. Look, he's gone. He's checked out into the distance. 2.4 seconds already, Randall.
Absolutely tearing away from that pair. You have to wonder maybe his speed, not as fast in one lap, but definitely more consistent. We've seen Istvan maybe overdriving the car a little bit, trying to keep that lead. He had a couple little mistakes, still has really good pace, but has fallen into the clutches of Garrett's, and having to deal with him, this has given Barry the opportunity to skip off into the sunset and start opening a gap. It's already past 2.5 seconds to 2.8 seconds, 2.9 seconds, approaching 3. So he has really got the pace figured out in this stage of the race.
I'm left with a real moral quandary here right now, Randall, because I love an underdog story. I'd love an S2 driver to win tonight, but James Barry's British. I'm stuck. I really am stuck here. Having said that, Istvan just set a personal best in the final sector, so he's definitely not hanging around whatsoever. Talking to hanging around, that's Bill Walker losing the rear end, and while he drops like a stone through the field, 12th, 13th, 14th, gets the car going. He's got a bit of a gap back to Paul Stevens, who just comes into camera shot, but he's back up to speed. Well, Megan Overstreet is one very, very lucky lady there, because that all happened right in front of her eyes, with nowhere to go either, praying to the racing gods, down on her knees, and by luck for the 44, it all came together.
You could see her eyes popping out of her visor as big as tea saucers as Bill Walker spun right in front of her, probably kicking herself for even having to be back here dealing with that. Almost ended her race right there. She's able to avoid the incident and not get collected and continue on her way, but a scary moment for Megan Overstreet.
Definitely nerve-wracking. It's really broken up this group, though, that started at Jesus Rodriguez and ended, around 12th place, which was Andrew Love at the time. He's now up into 11th. But, yeah, there's some big gaps starting to emerge amongst them right now. You're seeing Andrew Love just at the 10 of a small train there. McConnell lit back at Adrian, and Love, that 4-car little micro gaggle right now that we've got going on in that battle for 8th place. Just keeping up to date with the classes. Obviously, Barry leading overall and in Spec 1. Istvan leading Spec 2, second overall, so on the podium overall right now. Antonio Race leading Masters incredibly comfortably. Let's face it. A big old margin there for him.
You take a look at that track map. There are many more of those white segments on the track map, but they are all very small. The entire map is getting covered as we see. Is that Kevin Adrian running wide? And somebody, who was that running? Was that Andrew Love running wide there? No, not
That's
Andrew Love. Jimmy Litbaka.
He's off. The Swede, it's all come undone for him. As he now drops out of this fight. It's like no one wants to be involved in and around this group, as they all start to drop like flies. Having said that, part of Overstreet has really got a bit of a wiggle on Randall, and she's made quite a bit of time and caught up with Rodriguez and Harris. So you can see, just in the foreground of the camera shot now, there they go, heading on through, I'm trying to think which corner that is. That is Taylor's, isn't it? yes, they're getting incredibly close, and I get the feeling that's about to start to intensify, although we are on 13 minutes into this race. So I start to think about pit stops for one or two of our drivers, although we know fully when the pit cycle has officially opened, because once Stevie Ray will enter the pits, and he is yet to do so, Randall.
Megan definitely making her way back up through this field. She did qualify fourth. Let's not forget, she did have really good pace there at the end of qualifying, so she has the pace for a good finish. She should make short work of these two drivers. She made pretty short work of the other drivers she's encountered before this, so hopefully she can get around these two, start making her way, close that gap up to Antonio Reese.
Yeah, it's left. I mean, you say that. I mean, Jesus Rodriguez is no slouch whatsoever. And you've got to ask the question realistically, if he can't catch his fellow Iberian, can Overstreet do it? Having said that, she's just set the fastest lap of the race. So what do I know? What the hell do I know? She goes for the send on Harris. Up the inside, surely into turn one. Move going to be complete. Well, don't even have to wait for turn one. Round we go. Move done by the young American, and that is her through on her fellow countrymen.
You can see her really lining up the passes, studying her opponents as she makes her way through the field, finding out where they're slower. She manages to get that overtake done without losing any time. She may have even gained time due to the slipstream. So an excellent move by Overstreet. And next up on her platter is Jesus Rodriguez.
Right in the gap at 3/4 of a second, Randall. She's head up through Duffer's Dip. Towards the start-finish line, take a lot of that pit lane entry. Not going to pick up any penalties for that one. And certainly when you're not running normally clockwise as you do, see a lot of the drivers will enter that pit, will be a pit exit then, in fact, and use it to really open up Duffer's Dip and the entry into that one.
And Tim,
right, sorry, go on, ahead.
And Tim, as you mentioned, the pit window is officially open as we saw Stevie Ray leaving the pit exit. We're on board with him now, just come out of the pit stop. So that officially opens the window for Weekend Warriors. Stevie Ray always the first to take service, it seems.
Bouncing our way through the chicane, left, right, lots of curb being taken by Rodriguez and Overstreet right now. Through Butchers, McIntyre up through Duffer's Dip. Once again, an incredibly fast lap. We're pretty much on to qualifying pace already. Just under 16 minutes into this motor race, and having a look up the inside there. Thinks twice about it. Starting to ask questions of Rodriguez's Overstreet. And that 44 just sitting behind at the moment, the 76. But what could prove to be, I get the feeling, Randall, this is going to be when, not if, Overstreet makes her way past Rodriguez.
And we could see either of them dip into the pits this time by to maybe make that overtake happen in the pit lane instead of on track. But Megan has had the pace for most of this lap to hang there right there on Rodriguez's bumper or gearbox, and now is in the same position. Should be in a good spot to slipstream past him on the straightaway. We'll see if it plays out.
Here we go, Randall. Here we go. Looking, gaining. Pulls out to driver's left. And this might take a little bit more work than the move that we saw to get past Harris. Still side by side through turn one. But unable to get the drive off the corner is Rodriguez. But, well, I say that, starting to come back along, fighting alongside through Railway, straight down towards Clark. Are we going to make a move? No. The Spaniard decides against it. And Overstreet is officially through now. But it's a long fight. 4.4 seconds the gap up to Antonio Race. I mean, yes, I know he's still got well over the half this race to go. 23 minutes, well, less a bit of change. But even so, I think that's going to be a tough ask. But having said that, our leader, Barry, see on screen right now, is what I'm just having a bit of a look. Not that far, about a tenth of the lap, which isn't that far around here. What, a tenth of the mile, effectively, Randall, away from catching Cathcart, who's in 17th place. And he's in a little bit of a, micro-ish battle with Peter True, Jorge Gonzalez, and obviously Cathcart himself. So this is where it could start to become maybe not plain sailing for the Brit as he carves his way through the field, but he does have time on his side. 3.4 seconds, the advantage over Istvan.
Yeah, I think if we see Barry have to deal with too much lap traffic that isn't going to comply with him very easily, we might see him dip into the pit lane to try to get rid of that traffic, go ahead and take service, get some fuel in the car, and come back out, hopefully in a cleaner position. But this is not F1. The blue flag is only informational in this league. So just because the leader catches some of these slower cars doesn't mean that they have to get out of the way. They have their own races going on. So it'll be very interesting to watch as Barry takes a lot of that curb.
I almost lost it. He saw the car like bottom out across the curbing there, Randall, like switching around left and right. I mean, you say about him maybe coming into pit road and taking his pit stop early to not have to get through that lap traffic. If that puts him stuck in the field, well, then it's definitely not going to be as easy to pass those drivers because he's going to be effectively fighting them for position. I just don't see that's going to be the move. Well, saying that, Istvan's giving it a go. He's heading into the pit lane. So, well, clearly someone listening out there, Randall, but then for Istvan, I suppose he's just got to gamble, hasn't he? He's got to roll the dice and try something. Otherwise, I mean, well, he's just going to still be in second, surely.
And that gap now has opened up a little bit more. So I think Istvan may have had an issue coming through one of the corners in the last lap. The gap has gotten a bit wider. Istvan has taken the pit stop.
Yes, he has. Yeah, he has.
Maybe I should pay attention here. Garrett's now in second place. That gap's pretty big. But Antonio Race, not that far behind him.
No, he's not. Well, 2.9 seconds. I mean, it's a long time in terms of percentage of this lap. But like you say, I mean, I don't see Antonio Race catching Gertis at all. Not that the Portuguese driver is exactly slow, but I just don't think, based on their pace so far that they've displayed, I just don't quite see that one happening. But for me, Istvan is definitely the one to watch. He's come out in 12th place, Randall. He's providing to his fellow Scandinavian Jimmy Littbacher, although there is 5 seconds difference between the pair of them. But Istvan, they're just stuck in a little bit. Oh, no, apologies. Yeah, that's Littbacher, you can see on screen, who is, well, he's stuck in a battle. This is the issue that I was trying to speak about in terms of maybe, Barry coming in early, is that you get stuck behind battles like this one that you can see on the screen right now. And actually, these two are catching right up onto the back of a much bigger battle that's happening. Rodriguez, McConnell, Walker, and Love all stuck in that one.
Yeah, it's a dodgy proposition, but the way that the track is now, everybody's so spread out, you're almost guaranteed to come out of the pits in traffic. So sometimes you want to come out into slower traffic, sometimes you want to come out into faster traffic. Faster traffic can play to your advantage on a track like this where it's difficult to overtake because you can still carry quite a bit of pace over if you're behind slow drivers, you might be bogged down a bit more.
We'll either way, Randall, we will be finding out in about 28 seconds and 20 minutes. Sorry, 28 minutes and 20 seconds time. That's what I can definitely tell you. We'll definitely know who has come out the winner then. Having said that, Barry at the moment continue to extend that lead. It's now 9.6 seconds over Gertis. But, and this is the one we need to truly keep an eye on, 39 seconds between himself and Istvan, who is in 12th. That's the gap we need to be keeping half an eye on. Who's quicker between those two? Does Barry get lulled into a false sense of security and start to maybe ease up, not to worry too much about the traffic that allows Istvan's chance to strike? Or does Barry just worry about this and just go hell for leather, the only way he knows how to just ultimately guarantee the race victory? He's got to stop one way or another It's just a case of how much time he spends putting fuel on board. And Istvan, well, his stop, incidentally, compared to Jorge Gonzaga, who had stopped very early, was a little bit slow. Cavalier, who stopped on a near identical lap, definitely Istvan's same stationary was longer in comparison by about half a second. Yeah, he's a good half a second to a second slower than everyone else who stopped in and around him. So I think this could well be maybe the best moment from the Icelandic driver.
It's still a valiant effort, even if it doesn't work in his favor to qualify on pole, and still going to come through with a pretty good race finish as long as he keeps it clean here. I suspect he will still be in the top 5 pretty handily after the pit cycle shakes out. So he just needs to work to keep what he's got going and do what he can, do his best, and should still have a really, really good representation here on the leaderboard.
Yes, hopefully he should. I think. What was Andrew Love into the pits? That's that's a mandatory. That's his mandatory stop as he heads in. Oh, Istvan, I've just seen him jump. Now, I'm not sure whether it's just having a bit of a moment, my end, but he's just dropped a few places, quite a few, in fact.
Yes, he has. He has now been put a lap down. And on screen we have Antonio Race, and he is being hunted down by Megan Overstreet. You can see her lurking in the background. She still has the fastest lap overall, and it goes even faster this time with another purple lap as she is on the charge.
Definitely on fire, and we are borderline, Randall, making it into the 50-second mark. That lap from Overstreet, 51.013. 13 thousandths of a second away from being the first driver to dip it inside the 50-second barrier. Can she do it? Well, only time will tell. Don't think it's going to be on this lap. Sector 1, not her fastest. 2 tenths off her fastest, in fact. And in fact, in comparison to our race leader, in terms of that sector, actually slower by a tenth. So she made it all up in the second sector, where she was quite a bit faster than Barry.
We see traffic coming out of the pit lane she's going to have to contend with. She got the inside line, preferred way through turn 1 is going to make her way around Andrew Love very easily, but still tracking down Antonio. She still has that purple time, and that would have been good enough for pole position. So maybe just bad luck during qualifying. She didn't get the right traffic that she needed to set that time, but she has the pace for sure.
Running down now, we're really delving deep into pit stop territory. You should be done and dusted, certainly within the next 6 or so minutes here from Knockhill. Yet to stop is all of your top 9. Jorge Gonzaga did stop on lap 5, so I get the feeling he's going to need to stop again. I don't think he can make it home on that, although if he does, that will be an amazing result from the Portuguese driver. Other than that, Cathcart and Fortullo, 11th and 12th, respectively, overall for those guys who are yet to stop. Of course, with Istvan, who something definitely has happened to him, not a good way either. So that's 21st. In doing so, that now means that Spec 2 is being led by Bill Walker, who is 7th overall. There is Bill, and he's sitting quite comfortably. He's got Michael McCollum between himself and Paul Stevens, who's 2nd in class. At about, a second and a half as well to boot. No, make that 2.3 even. So that's looking comfortable. Third place is Jimmy Littbacker at the moment. Now, the interesting one is Jimmy Littbacker has stopped. He is the danger man, the Swede. As I say that, he comes into the pit road again. So, actually, let's scratch that. Curse the commentator. Put it down to that one. Antonio Race leads Masters. Brad Cathcart 2nd, Jim Brewster 3rd, with Brewster having stopped, although that was back on lap 1. So again, he will definitely need to stop. There's no way, as much as I love Jim, he is getting home on that one.
We saw Jim involved in that turn 1 incident on the start and now is doing a recovery run, sitting in a decent position now. As you said, is still going to have to make that pit stop and surrender that third place to Stevie Ray ultimately. We saw a car off track there. I wasn't quite sure who that was. Maybe Kevin Adrian having problems again. And now falling back into the clutches of said Stevie Ray. See if Stevie can get this overtake done this lap.
Yes. No, that would be Benjamin Harris.
Yeah, we have cars on different laps. I don't know who I'm looking at anymore.
They have incredibly Randall. They have incredibly similar liveries. You're not the first person to be caught out by it. You won't be the last. And I had to look and double check at it and thought, hold on a minute, is it? Is it not? No. Yeah, they have very similar liveries. You'll get used to it. Don't worry.
The action just all over the track. You look at the track map. There's hardly any empty track anywhere. This is everybody's dealing with traffic. We're gonna see this shake up even more. The leader is in the pit lane, so we'll see where he comes out. It had quite a large gap when he came in, about 11 seconds there over Garrett's.
Yeah, Soren Garrett's leads. He keeps on going. Barry into the pits now. I mean, the next driver who has actually stopped proper will be Kevin Adrian. He's 14th overall. No, Barry has no need to worry about that one. Where's he going to come out? Well, nearly drops it on the grass there. Taking a bit too much. Well, he tucks in, well, just behind. In terms of on track, that is Benjamin Harris up ahead. Although that is Kevin Adrian, who he did come out initially in front of, but Kevin a lap down, just letting the leader on by. So fifth, that's a strong old place to be coming out after your pit stop for the 100 car.
Absolutely. He's got to just hold station, make his way through some of this slower traffic, let other cars pit in front of him, and see how much of a gap he still has after the pit cycle goes through. Antonio Race has stayed out. Megan Overstreet.
To find out, because Soren Gertis, who was leading, is in the pit road and was second before the round of pit stops all started kicking off. As you mentioned, Race and Overstreet and Harris, they have all continued on. So has Jesus Rodriguez too. Michael McConnell carries on, Stevens to boot. So they're getting great mileage out of their cars right now as we hit the 30-minute mark. 10 minutes left remaining here from Knockhill.
We expect the rest of these cars to come in this lap. Maybe they can eke one more lap out of the car. It is a short lap, so they could possibly, get a couple extra laps beyond that 30-minute mark. But normally, this is the time you would see everybody coming in. It looks like Kevin Adrian, Russell Telker off the track there, as Megan Overstreet dipping into the pit lane.
Racing as well. There you go. See, this is what I talked about. That if you get your pit box there, it is a nightmare. You've got no idea where it is. It's an absolute nightmare. You just got to guess. Harris in, Rodriguez in as well, McConnell in, Stevens surely got to be in this time around. No, Stevens goes again. So try and find, well, they're practically their pit box in the car park there. Barry back into the lead. Stevens now up into second place for Spec 2, although he is yet to stop. He's probably going to relinquish that one to Bill Walker, who is 10th overall.
Antonio Race has jumped Garrett's in the pit stop. Now in effectively P2 in this race, P3 overall until Stevens pits. You see him on the tail end of Stevie Ray, who is a lap down to these drivers, but he's made a big move during this pit stop.
Made up a whole heap of time, hasn't he? He was stationary for nearly 2 seconds less, Randall. That's what's played a large factor in this. That allow the Portuguese driver ahead of the Belgium. Stevens heads to pit road finally. Last driver to stop. He's in on lap 37. But where's the Spec 2? Well, current leader going to come out. As mentioned, Bill Walker in 10th. That could well be close. As Curtis is ahead of the race. He's got the move done. That's got to be down into turn 1. Into Taylor's corner. A change for the lead. Well, Stevens is going to come out. I think he's going to come out in front of McConnell. No, McConnell's gone past him, but he does come out in front of Walker. And what is the gap? Well, it's 17 seconds. No need to worry. Comfortable for Stevens.
As Stevens is going to inherit the win here, it looks like, as long as he can keep the rest of his race mistake-free and not do any major damage to the car. has inherited quite the win from Istvan, who was so strong in the beginning of this race and now has fallen off and looks like he is even parked the car or coming to the pits again, 7 laps down.
Gutting. Absolutely gutting for them. So far, retirements. Knochill did not start the race. Hogmani, we lost him on lap 10. Gary Robert, lap 21. Jeff Jacobson, lap 26, lap 27. For Istvan, Love is the last car remaining on track. He's 20th right now. So 20 runners and riders still left. But we've only got less than 7 minutes remaining. Let's have a bit of a sit rep. Ultimately, it's this battle for second that's most intriguing of ways. It's Spec 1 versus Masters. It's Gertis versus Race. This one could go down to the wire. What has Soren Gertis got up his sleeve? I tell you, Race, he's a wily old fox. He's been around the block a fair few times. He's been there. He's done it all. He's seen it all, Randall. He's got a handle on this. But it's what sort of nerve and resolve has Soren Gertis got in response to Antonio Race?
His quick pit stop not only put him in the fight with Soren Gerrits here, it also opened up a gap that was basically non-existent to Megan Overstreet. So now it was 3.5 seconds before, it's closing and getting smaller. So Megan catching up to this pair to make it a 3-way fight for that second step on the podium. You really have to wonder, though, with Antonio's short pit stop, did he get enough fuel into the car? Will he have issues on the last couple laps?
I would say yes, if I know him well. But Overstreet is catching these guys at a rate of knots. Well, this round just by, it was 2 tenths. The previous lap, Randall, was 6 tenths. That's 8 tenths of a second. Jorge Gonzaga into the pit, so he will drop down through the order now. There he is behind the... Well, the camera angle's not showing it. Obviously, set up mainly for when we go clockwise rather than counterclockwise. This time, there he goes. So, yeah, down. He'll come out in 9th place. So, still looking good for a spot within the top 10. We've got Barry's just walking away with this one as we hit 5 minutes left to go. But look, they're getting closer. Right now, Race is just asking questions. Not necessarily having a lock on the door, but he's having a good look. He's peering in through the windows and just saying to Gertis, what have you got up your sleeve? I'm here, don't forget about me. And just trying to just bully him. You know, the mind punt almost. He's not going to make contact with him, but he's going to frighten Gertis off this track to get the move done. It's a little bit sketchy there across the curves. Car's just bottoming out as we head up through the chicane. A little bit of traffic once again on the horizon. That's Fortolo, who's in 11th place. They're just catching up onto the back of. So we head through McIntyre, up through Duffers Dip. And, well, we're going to be on to yet another lap and yet another time of which Gertis has got to defend from Race.
And we're looking at Stevie Ray in a solid P2 right now with 1 car between him and Jim
Randall,
Brewster.
I'm going to cut across you. Because there's going to be a change for second place here. There you go. Antonio Race has got it done. Or has he? No, he couldn't quite get it done. He pulled right alongside. But Gertis is just defending the inside line for his absolute life right now. But here comes Race through the railway straights. What's he got? And there you go. That's what I'm talking about. Just forcing those marginal errors. As they head through Clark Chicane, down through Brabham, cross the chicane now. And this is what I spoke about, where Antonio Race is just really asking those questions. He's not doing anything deliberate or intentional. He's not truly committing. But he's just trying to force that unprovoked mistake from Gertis. So
And if you listen really closely, the sound you're hearing is Megan Overstreet in her car just yelling, fight, 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 as she's hoping to close this gap up and make it a 3-way dance.
Down to 1.6 seconds. Took about a good 2-3 tenths into turn 1 out of these top 2. So what was going to be a 2-way fight for second place is now going to turn into a 3-way fight for 2 places on the podium. Barry's checked out. He's 15 seconds to the good clear of these. He does not need to worry about this whatsoever. But it's that battle for second That's what it's all coming down to. Still battles happening up and down through the field. McConnell currently onto the back of Paul Stevens there. Trying to line up a move. A similar situation. Excuse me, situation to what we're seeing for that second place battle.
Absolutely. Paul Stevens sitting in the catbird seat for the Spec 2 drivers in the lead there as we go back to Rodriguez and Benjamin Harris in another close battle here for 5th place overall. As we're going to see a move, Rodriguez is going to look to the inside of Harris coming to turn 1, is going to have the preferred line, going to get it woed up in time, leaves plenty of space, and it's going to be a drag race down to turn 3.
On the outside line, though, you could just carry so much momentum, so much more drive and speed off the corner. And Harris just able to defend from the Spaniard for now. We looking at the clock. Wow, we have got only 1 minute 40 left here, Randall. So we're getting down to the last couple of laps. And this is where Race just turns at the pressure. He starts creaking that screw bit by bit, more by more, and he's got to the inside. Could this be the move for second place? Down into turn 1, onto the brakes, but Goetz's got that outside line. He'll get the drive off the corner. And, well, Overstreet's wish that you were talking about earlier, Randall, is coming true. The gap down to a second now. White flag is not in the air. That's good for her, but it's not good for these two because one of them wants to take advantage, but they can't quite do it, and they know that she's looming. It's down to 8/10 of a second now, the gap. It's down to 6/10. She's easing it up 10th at a time, corner by corner, and now she arrives at the rear of Goretz and Race, and now it's a three-way fight over 2 positions on the podium overall. Who's going to get it? As this is going to be white flag in the air. It's going to be 1 to go when they cross the line. I'm pretty sure, just keeping half an eye. Yeah, Barney's got his white flag in the air. And there we go. Overstreet onto the back of him, but it could be too little, too late. Race doesn't make the overtake, and that could be his opportunity missed. And Rude, but with the drive off turn 1, is he going to actually lose this position to Overstreet, who moves to driver's left? She's going to be in line here to get the move done. Antonia Racewell practically lets her by. That's how it feels like. Goritz says, thank you very much. All the pressure gone from him, and he just needs to round up this lap to surely bring this one home in second. But all while this is happening, James Barry, he's your winner. Well, was it going to be any other way? 17 seconds, the advantage, but that second place battle, I'll get my words out in a minute. How are they going to finish? Well, it's the Belgian. Goretz is going to bring this one home, but what a drive from Overstreet to get back on the podium overall. Great stuff from her. Antonio Ray still rounding out with that class victory, but 4th overall is what he had to settle for in the end. Harris was still got that battle going on. They're deep into their lap as well, and they haven't taken the checkered flag. This could be a right finish. There's Stevens right behind. The only trouble with this track is not all the opportunities come like on. But here we go. McConnell could get the run on a lot of them. He's past Harris, and there you go. Right at the line. He passes a couple of them, and he gets up to 6th. And Jorge Gonzaga, according to my records, has nipped Harris at the line in a near-dead heat.
Absolutely. Nail-biting racing in the midfield coming up to the finish line. You can't script those kind of finishes. You just can't script them, and it's amazing to see that these guys are that close together after 40 minutes of racing on a really tricky course.
Unfortunately, I've been here too long to know you, Randall, that, well, it's just an average week, really. It's no different. I'd love to tell you that we have quite boring weeks, but we unfortunately don't. And that's why, sometimes you have to take a bit of a break from this series, just allow your voice to recover. James Barry, your victor here today. Goretz in second. Overstreet rounding out that podium, just sneaking past Antonio Race on the final lap, although he does secure 4th. That class victory in Masters. Jesus Rodriguez, who winner. McConnell, 6th. Gonzaga, 7th. Harris, 8th. Stevens, winner in Spec 2. Great result for Paul Stevens. That's 2 Brits out of the 3 categories securing class wins. Bill Walker could have ran that top 10 and 2nd place in Spec 2. Tullo and Adrian, 11th and 12th respectively, with Ray and Brewster 13th and 14th, and picking up 2nd and 3rd in Masters. Then we've got Cathcart, Green, a real disappointing race from him. Peter True is going to round out that podium inspector, and again, another Brit on the podium here today. Great stuff. Love to see it. Jimmy Lipbacker, Telka, and Love take you up to 20th position. With Istvan, well, into retirements now. We lost him all the way back on lap 27. Lap 26 for Jakeson, 21 for Walbolt. Marnie retired the car on lap 10, and Nick Tullo did not make the start. And breathe, Randall.
And breathe, yeah.
Not a bad little race there, indeed. What's your sort of take on your moments from that?
Well, it's Knockhill. You know it's going to be exciting. You know it's going to be wild. And these drivers delivered just like they do every week. And definitely one for the record books with a Spec 2 driver on pole, overall pole. Amazing.
I know. Shame he couldn't carry it through for the win, Istvan. But hey, such is life. I can live for another day and still have hazy wonders and dreams about having such a spectacle. Just wait to hear about it. Have we got any interviews post race at all?
No, we don't have any interviews post race. But
no, okay, so can't. Fortunately, a couple of issues are preventing that one. But thank you very much for joining us. A little bit of a belated start time, but got there in the end. Obviously, offshore level we've covered. Coming up tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern time, or 1 o'clock in the morning if you're in Europe. No, it's about 1:30 actually. We've got XSLR, and we are at Charlotte Oval. Always a bit of a crazy race. If you want to find more information on that, look up XSLR on Facebook. SimCar, they're back from Virginia International Raceway at 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. We're back in 1 week's time when we head to the Hungaroring for Formula Ford. Always a bit of a tricky track, that one, although wide enough for these cars. And you know, one thing about the Weekend Warriors is that they can get the overtaking moves done, so always a possibility there. But I've been Tim Cox from myself and Randall McGrew and Adam Thompson. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you in a week's time when the Weekend Warriors returns from the Hungaroring. See you then.
I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you
It
know,
is.
life sucks sometimes, and you need
Yes.
the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new
Conspiracy
content.
confirmed.
But
Yes.
but